So in this video, I'm going to go over this Goldbach Master Suite indicator bundle. It's like a 3-in-1 indicator giving you the ranges, a sequence, the Algo 2 sequence, and also the Goldbach Algo Time indicator as well. So if you like this type of content, my name is Jack with Devoted Trading. Let's dive in. So buckle in. All right, so this indicator, I'm going to go over just one by one what each one does. They all have HUDs or tables to show you kind of what's going on. So let me zoom out and explain first the ranges and the sequence and then the algo time. So I'm going to assume that you already know what, I'm not going to go into teaching of what Goldbach is, but you're already familiar with what uh, the levels and everything are. So those are some prerequisites of this video. So I'm gonna dive into just the ranges, the PO3 ranges right now. So right now we got the PO3 ranges. You can either do an auto number, which you can either do the closest number to the current ADR, which you can choose the weekly ADR or the daily, choose look back, or you can choose the next, which we'll do the next. So if I leave it on auto, I'm on the 1-minute time frame. It'll give me a 2187 on the weekly average weekly range. But if I do an average daily range, you'll see that the next largest one, let it adjust, it'll give me a 729 on the 1 minute. But what I like to do typically, if I do the closest let's see what the closest will do. Will it give me the 243? Yeah. So close will give me 243. I typically keep it at 243. So if you click it off, and then you can manually just choose which PO3 number you want to have. I typically have my 1 minute at 243, so I'm just gonna leave it there. So anyways, and then you can also have additional ranges. Let me get, so it's not floating on the right. Let me have it expand the left here. So you can have additional ranges. You can have another range on top, another range on the bottom. Let me do that right now just to show that example. Load here, give additional ranges on top and bottom. For now, let's just do the bottom one. And then if you want to just have it on the right, like I do, because I have a quarterly theory indicator that'll actually show over the candles. So for my execution on the window that I actually execute with, I only have it on the right here, so I can see my levels and where it's at. So that's what that looks like. And what's that right in here? So you can adjust all these settings with your, length, how far it is from the candles. I want to have it maybe a little bit wider. I can do that if I wanted to. I like typically have it at 10. It's about good for me. This is the length of days. When it's off, how many days back you want to go. So for me, I have about 6 months back. And then if I want to show the numbers on the right or not show the numbers on the right and just have the levels, I could do that. Or if I want to turn off the abbreviations and just show the numbers, I could do that as well. So that's what that is. And then abbreviations, text size control, have all those settings controlled. Now these are the ghost lines. These ghost lines control will show you the GIP levels and the 50% and the EQ of other PO3 numbers. So you can go plus 1, 2, or 3 PO3 numbers. So in this case, it would be the 729, 2187, and 6561 levels. Or you can go down, go down to the 9. So 81, 27, 9. But for me, for this one, I just like to, for the 243, my 1 minute chart, I only have down 1 and then up 3. So I can see my 80, my my GIP levels and EQ levels up to the 65, 61. And then you can use color, offset, all that good stuff. So usually when I'm executing, it's looking more like this. I'm in age session right now recording this, so the candles are small, but looking something like this, so I can see it pretty clearly. But that's what those numbers are. So you can see 81 EQ kind of is in line with the 243 GIP level. The 729 GIP level is kind of in line with the rebalance range of the 243 GIP level, 243 bounce range, and so on and so forth. So if I, see if I can see some, if I go up higher, you can see the 6561 GIP and so on and so forth. So that's what that'll look like if you want to turn those on. So, all right. So then going into the other settings, you can change the background colors of this confluence box. And what this confluence box does is that basically if you're looking for potentially going long, you want to have all your lows stacked up. The more lows you have stacked up like this, the more stronger that particular low range will be. So that zero line will be. So for example, let me go to replay and just go to some different price action here. Okay. So let me turn off the floating, have it extend left. And then you can just copy all these colors if you want, but that's what that'll look like. You can change the opacity, all the good stuff. So with this, the more stacked lows that you have, so for example, in this particular example, looking at this current range, let me turn off the extended range here. So I'm just looking at this one range. Wait for that to load. Okay, so this one range, then these lows of this 243 range, it's the 729 and 2187. They all have a stacked low, basically meaning that this particular low is going to be really strong support. So when you see that, so for example, when price ran up, broke through, I'm looking at, I mean, 1 minute's kind of hard to tell, but let's say we're looking at the 3 minute. We tapped it, came back down, rejected, tapped it, came back down, and finally broke through that level. This is kind of an extreme case because we were so bullish, but typically you want to see it come up, tap down, find support, maybe even wick back into this extension line at, what is that, negative, I think 11, yeah, 0.11. And then find support, and then we're going to go higher. We go through the flow levels, flow gates, kind of consolidate around the breaker level, consolidate around 50% EQ, and we never even retrace to go back down to hit the OB level, and then we hit the premium GIP, which is this orange line, and then we come up to the one level, so the high level. So I'm going to assume in this video as well that you are already familiar with Hoppy's flow gates and the trifecta system. I just matched my colors to match his trifecta system. So anyways, just to preface that, but that's what that means, and that's how you use that, is you read it, and that'll come into the sequence box that you'll see later on here. So okay, so going through the indicator a bit more, let's see here. Then you can show the extension lines. You can show the order flow zones, which are these zones, just like the Goldbach indicator there. And then it goes into algo time. So let me get into the sequence. So let me go back over here, turn the rest on. Let me turn the sequence on. So this is the sequence. So what this sequence is, algo sequence, I should rename it to algo 2 sequence, because that's really what it's doing. So this is the sequence rules. So what the sequence does is, let me find a good example here. Yesterday was not a good example. Let me go to, let's see what this looks like. Let's go here, and let's go down one level. Okay, here's a little bit better example. We're still really bullish, but okay, this is an okay example. So where again, this is the 1 minute 243 PO3 number. So we were at this lower PO3, the 243 level, and we broke above, finally found support at this rejection block, this rejection block level. The GIP, kind of consolidating around the GIP. Once we finally broke through that, we went through the flow gate breaker, went through equilibrium to this flow, back up to the premium, rejected, came down on balance, rebalance layer at the red, and then back up. So what the sequence does is once price of going bullish zero line, let me just find it. Here's a yeah. Here, here. Through the bullish the high to new 40 level. It's just consolidating because we're in Asia. Let's keep going. 10 speed. Okay, now there we go. We go through the flow gates. We're consolidating at EQ down to the breaker. Okay, now we're in London here. And now we're going through the flow gates, hitting the flow gate, back to the premium breaker, back to equilibrium, bouncing out, consolidating a bit. I'm probably going to consolidate until New York Open. New York Open, we're either going to go through these floodgates and hit the GIP level, or there it is. Oh, there's news probably at 8:30. Yep, okay, so there it is. So there's target, terminus reached. So direction bullish, terminus reached, sequence is finished. So depending on, let's say I change my target to the OB, then let's see if, go back here. Let's see if we'll reload and actually, okay, so now the target is the 89 instead of the 83. So let's say my target's at the 89 level. Boom, we hit the 83, target's not reached yet. And I think we do end up hitting the target later. So yeah, it plays out. Obviously, we're bullish. Boom, there we go. We hit 89, and target is finally there. And then it restarts again because we went into this new range. Sorry, let me pause it. Restarts again, and it's looking for that same sequence, right? So it's going to look for that sequence again of going above here, hitting the breaker, retracing back down, depending on which level you pick as your entry, as your limit entry, and then going back up to hit your target. It'll say the what's called the derailment or the invalidation level is that if you hit if price hits the breaker level 41 and then we go past the GIP level and close below this 11 level, then it'll derail it and it'll say trade invalidated. That means that potentially we might go back down, find resistance at highs, and go back into the lower range again. And then it starts over again. Or maybe it goes down to the 0 level, wicks into the extension. Let me turn this off. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. So let's say it goes up here, hits the breaker, comes back down, breaks into the GIP, breaks through this 11 level, which will invalidate the sequence, this algo sequence. And maybe it wicks down here to the extension, wicks back up, and then the sequence starts again for a bullish play, right? Looking for that same sequence, right? And then maybe this time it finds support at GIP and goes up towards the target. Something like that. Does that make sense? So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. But yeah, that's what I love about this indicator, that the Algo 2 sequence is actually coded, and you can control the sequence within this indicator. So that's why it's so rad. So, all right, so moving on, Algo time, at least Goldbach time. Let me turn that on. Let's go down to the settings for Goldbach time, and we'll look into all this. So, okay, Goldbach time. So, time zone, time limit, you can either do 15 minutes or less, or just the 1 minute time frame. So with this one, I changed it to where you can choose your pivot detection mode. So you can either have a standard detection mode, which it'll basically take every 3-bar sequence, whichever high or low it'll calculate that, or you can have it ATR filtered. So basically meaning that if it was ATR, it'll look at the it'll have less noise on your chart potentially, because it'll be, let's see if I have an ATR at 2, it'll show less, it'll like have the bigger swings. It won't just do like a 3 candle look back like if I did the standard one. So that's just give you some depending on market conditions, you might want the ATR one, but for me I just typically leave it at the standard. Where is it at? Standard detection mode. And then everything else will look the same. Bars look back 3 with the 1 minute buffer. The bars look back in seconds at 12. And then I just leave everything on basically, right? So I have a 1 minute buffer, of course, and then the detection time mode. Usually leave this all as is, if you just wanted the minutes only and not use the hours minus minutes or hours plus minutes, you can turn those off, and that'll kind of remove some things. And then as far as the HUD goes, this here, what this does is that it'll, so right now we're currently on node 3.7, right? So it highlights 3.7. So these are the blues to highlight. Let me just move move that up here so you can see that better. But the blues are 3.7, and then the purple for me is the next node that's going to come up. So what this is doing is that it'll show you the next potential um, path that it's on. So it'll look for a 1723 or a 4144, or if it's Algo 2, it'll look for 5965, or go backwards and wrap around and go to 2935. So that's what it's highlighting. So let's play it out. Let me slow it down here a little bit. Boom, 1723. So it went from 3.7 to 1723. So it skipped 59, 56, 65, and we're going to continue going. So that's what that does. So it doesn't necessarily track particularly which algo we're on, because from what I've seen, it's on super clean on how you track it. I mean, you really need to be paying attention just to the swing highs and swing lows, and certain swings that take liquidity like this, and then only track those. It's just kind of it's just difficult to actually see which algo it's actually on, because it looks like it switches back and forth. So that's why in this one, what I have as a filter is that you can filter out to see only the start and end nodes. Also, if you wanted to show the calculation nodes, then you could see that. Like this is minutes, subtraction, minute, and it'll show you which are the CE numbers. So minute CE, subtraction CE, but I just don't keep that on. But in this, you can show only the start and end nodes, which are the 00, 0, 00, the 37, the 71, 77, and 2935. So those are the only start and end nodes, right? It'll show just those nodes. But what I've done is I've added another filter where it'll show I call it the SMR nodes only. So the smart money reversal nodes are essentially just the beginning nodes. So 0, 3, 7, 17, 23, 47, 53, the end nodes, the beginning nodes, and then the nodes right here. Gosh, this is annoying. 1723 and 4753. This thing keeps showing. Anyways, because the reason why you want to see those numbers in particular is because when price reverses, or at least has an SMR, you'll want to see a sequential number of, let's say, for example, 17 or 23 going to this path, 71, 77, or 29, 35. So for example, right, let's see here, let's get an example. Oh, actually, I don't think that filter's on, so let me turn on that filter. It'll just show those SMR nodes. So let me turn that on instead. Okay, so now that it's on, see, look, it went from 3.7. Let me show out a good example here. Let me see. So for this particular indicator too, is that I have sometimes I leave the nodes on because so I can see where it swept liquidity and which number swept liquidity. So this 723 down to 3.7. So 723, and it just, or actually it went down to sweep this 723, and then we swept which liquidity, 2935. So that's why it's a little confusing, because I mean, I can count this 2935 with this next 1723, or this 2935, and that could potentially be the algo sequence here, and then the next one is 1723, and the next one I'm looking for is somewhere down here. That's not a good example. Let me show you. Here we go, right here, 1723. Boom, 2935. Creates a high, creates a low. Once one of these gets swept, typically create a turtle soup. So since we broke above this with some FEGs, and we didn't really break below the 2935, that's meaning that we're bullish. So this 1723, we broke above here, we created an FEG, so we're closing bodies above and creating some fair value gaps. That means that any sweep below, well, you wouldn't know that yet, but any sweep that will sweep this low will be a soup to go higher, at least in this logic. So all that to say is that the reason why I only left those 3 nodes on, not 3 nodes, but for Algo 1, Algo 2, it's 6 nodes altogether, but I left those because those are just the SMR nodes. So if you see usually the beginning path will create an SMR, or at least create a start of a new sequence, and then the end path will create the end of a particular sequence. But the number before that, the 1723 or 4753, is going to come right before the end path or the beginning path. So that's why I left those on, and you can see those kind of play out, right? So 1723, boom, come up here. So we had a 2935, 1723, and we're off to the races. So that's why those numbers, well, I'll say that a swing low doesn't always happen at these end nodes of 00, 37, and these numbers here. I mean, if it were that easy, then people would figure it out and always know where the swing low would form. But you need to be able to read the sequence and know sequentially, okay, 1723 is next, or is up, and the next number, next swing high or swing low should be a 2935 or 7177. So that's why I left those on and those SMR nodes as a filter. So hopefully that made sense. But I'll leave that on, and that I think does a really good job on at least giving you context and filtering out not every single node in the sequence, but just the start and end nodes to catch the beginning and the end of the algo of swings, right? So that's why we trade, right? We're trying to trade reversals. So let's go back, and then you can, if you didn't want to have that, if you want to have an active sweep line, then you can do this. I don't like to have an active sweep line, but that would look like this. This is an active node that hasn't been swept yet, so it's just putting lines out. I personally don't like that, so I just turn that down, 0 opacity, and then this is the color of the node, and it's after it's been swept. So you can either just have 0 opacity to turn that off, or you can have a light opacity to turn it on, just so you can see which nodes have been swept. I like to keep it on because, like I said, if I'm trying to track the sequence, or at least sequentially, I want to see what nodes have been swept in the past, so I can see, oh, okay, this is 4753, and interesting, this went down to 37. So for me, that wouldn't be a valid 720. So 723. Yeah, I'm still learning how to actually read this. So 1723, this went up to 1729. So this would be a valid sequence, right? 1723 up to 2935, which is an end path. Once this is swept, boom, there's a reversal that happens. 1723, these are both 1723, and yeah, so it's still a little confusing to me. That's why I just look for the end paths or any of these, like I call them anchor nodes, the 1723 or the 4753, on my swing highs or swing lows to look for, to give me confirmation on my thesis with SMT and order flow and all that. So I'll go into my trade model later, but this is more just on the actual indicator. So anyways, that's pretty much all the settings for that. You can also have the CSC line on the start and end nodes. I personally don't like to have that, but if you want to have a CSD line, it'll show on only on the start and end nodes. It won't show on every single node. Um, and then you of course change the colors of the cheat sheet and the algo path. So this would be the active node color, the next node neighboring highlight, and then the intermediate node, start node, anchor node, all that good stuff. So this is the anchor node, the node right before um, the end path, and then of course the end nodes. So that's what that looks like. Hopefully that made some sense to you guys. Let me just kind of go back and just watch it live so you can kind of see what it's tracking here. So I was tracking those times. So as you can see, these nodes that light up, like this is a sequential node, right? So this is starting, this is ending Algo 2 and then starting Algo 1. Boom. So it's going backwards. Boom, Algo 1. So start here and then went back this way. So as you can see, as this is going, it'll show you and highlight different nodes that are happening. Current node 723, reversals, and then so look, this is now it's going backwards. So it's going 2935. This is an Algo 2 going backwards, potentially, right? Boom, this way. But if you want to show all nodes, let's pause this for a second. And show all nodes. And these are just the regular regular node colors. Then we could track we could try to track the actual every single algo in the particular algo path. From what I've learned from AJ, you don't need to, because you really just need to track. You can just trade from one path to the next path. You don't need to trade the whole path. You can trade one number to the next number. So just from 17 to I'm sorry, 23 to 35, or 17 to 29. You just need to track one number to the next. That's really all you need to trade. So that's why I didn't really, it's just too confusing to try to track every single, the actual path of every single number. And that's why I personally like just to keep the number nodes up showing the SMR nodes only. So, or if you want to keep it more simple, just show the start and end nodes only, and that'll just leave it at that. And you can take your entries or your confirmations of entries on with those start and end nodes. So, all right, that is it. That was a long one. Thanks for sitting with me through that. Hopefully that made sense to you guys. And hopefully this helps you out. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, or just shoot me a message in Discord, and I'll be sure to help out. Again, if you like this type of content, make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.